Well, hello, greetings. I'm Reverend Bob Zanicki, the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and welcome to the Midweek Meditation. I'm back. Today is April 22nd. It's a Thursday, 2021. A little over a week and a half ago, Sean and I traveled. That's why we were away for that particular weekend, the weekend of April 11th. I had the honor, the opportunity to officiate at a wedding down in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, our first time visiting there, and it was beautiful weather, a little windy once in a while, but right there at the ocean, it was quite nice. And I was so thrilled and honored, pleased to officiate at this wedding. The young man the groom, I baptized when he was just a little baby. And he's married a wonderful young lady, and they make a great couple, and it was an honor again to be there, to see some of the family and friends, new friends, and meet people. It was a great time there for those couple days. Well, then, this past Sunday, I was back in the pulpit at our lovely church, and it was great being there, and the music, as usual, was beautiful. I recommend, if you haven't experienced it yet, to go onto YouTube and experience that worship service. Again, the music was fabulous. I have to sometimes be careful that I'm not moved too much in terms of moved to getting a little teary-eyed because of the beauty and grandeur of so much of our music. And I talked about the two fellows that left right after the crucifixion of Jesus in Luke chapter 24, and how they were confused and they were forlorn, they were upset about the death of the person they thought was going to be their Savior. And so they've heard some stories they weren't quite clear on about an empty tomb, and they were on their way leaving Jerusalem over to Emmaus, just a few miles away, but their heads were down, and they were really having a rough time. And they were talking about things of how they were so disappointed. And the sermon basically is called, What Are You Talking About? And so there's a discussion there. And of course, if you know the story, Jesus comes and joins them and joins in the conversation. So again, if you haven't listened to experience that service, I suggest, hardly recommend it. Well, another experience that I've had in terms of what I've been talking about is just last evening in my class up in Misericordia. I teach religion in America, and only one class left to the end of the semester. But last evening, as I always do, I bring in a guest to talk for part of the lecture series class. I bring in a guest to talk about their own particular faith tradition. And so I brought in different Christians from different denominations. I brought in some of my rabbinic friends to talk about their Judaism, also though specifically their part in Judaism, be it conservative, Reform, Orthodox. And so last evening, I invited a friend of mine we've been friends for several years now, Dr. Almeki. Almeki is a physician, a medical doctor, but also a very devout and committed Muslim. And he, in fact, serves as one of the imams for the local synagogue on Scott Street. So he's always been so gracious to come to my class and share with them Islam. And of course, you can only do so much within 45 minutes to an hour. But he did a great job. And he's just such a delightful person. And this is Ramadan. Some of you may know that. This is the month of Ramadan for the people of Islam. And he talked about that a bit. And he had been fasting the whole day. And in fact, he had a bottle of water. And at the appropriate time, into 7:43 or something like that last evening, that was the breaking of the fast. And so he hadn't had any water or anything to eat all day long since 5 o'clock in the morning. And so he told the students this is what he was going to do. He would break his fast while he's there at the class. And so he opens his bottle of water and he takes a few hearty drinks of water. And I think all of us could empathize with him not having had any liquid, any food since the night before, basically. And then he also showed us how the evening prayers take place, and he did those prayers there at the front of the class. And that was a unique experience for me also, and very moving in the sense that here is Muslim, a devout Muslim that is living his faith, and he's sharing this with those of us that were there. And it was delightful. One of the things he did too, one of the many things he talked about in terms of Islam, was that one of the key tenets of Islam is to be kind, to be helpful, to be caring, to reach out to those who have need. Well, that certainly sounds very familiar to us as Christians, that's a major piece of whom we are, what we're called to do, to be. And so I couldn't help but think about that. And he mentioned a couple Quranic verses, and I'm not sure if these were the exact ones, but I did a little bit of research. And in the Quran, the one surah, Surah 5, says, Allah, God, has promised those who believe and do deeds of righteousness that for them there is forgiveness and a great reward. In Surah 10, verily those who believe and do deeds of righteousness, their Lord will guide them through their faith. Under them will flow rivers in the gardens of delight, the gardens of paradise into the future. Well, I couldn't help but think of many verses in our Bible, New Testament, Old Testament, both. But I thought of Matthew 25, when the great judgment comes. And it says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Well, part of the reason this also came to mind last evening was that Dr. El-Mekki was referencing the fact that we are all going to be judged by God. And what have we done? And this text just came to me, no surprise. And so anyhow, the text goes on. Before him, Son of Man, God, Christ, will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on the right hand and the goats on the left. And the king will say to those at his right hand, Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And then comes the list. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the King, God, Christ, will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. I just thought, and Dr. El-Mekki mentioned something along these lines that, we have differing religions, differing faiths, but he mentioned about the Abrahamic faith of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's a relationship, there really is. There's a direct relationship among the three of us. Though he talked about how we may have different understandings of certain things, but there are other things that we agree upon. And I couldn't help but consider that. I've spoken about this before, but that we Christians, we all, Jews, people of Islam, Muslims, and even beyond the three Abrahamic faiths, in the world that we live in today, we need to find those verities, those truths, those foundational elements, those axioms that we can agree on. And this type of thinking, this type of belief, that we are responsible to one another, to the world, to those who have needs. That is foundational, dare I say, fundamental. And so if we can find those places of agreement in the way people should be treated with integrity, love, compassion, also with responsibility, then we'll be able to work through the issues, the concerns we have within our world. Not an easy task, but it's there in our Jewish writings, the Torah, the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures. It is in our Christian Bible from the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it is there within the Quran. And I'm trusting it's also in other great sacred writings. And that's our task for us as Christians, to find those similarities, those ones that are just non-negotiable, and to work together with all God's children. God bless you, and I hope for those of you that will tune in from the church, if you're a member of the church or you've been watching this coming Sunday, we're going to look for a little clarity out of Mark chapter 8. That's all I'll say right now. God bless you. Bye-bye.